If you're an asshole before you do the work, you'll be an asshole after you do the work. Wise words from my soul brother, Anthony Dippolito. Join me and Anthony for a deep dive conversation about plant medicine, personal growth, and our experience in the jungles of Peru. In this episode, you'll learn why it's important to hold intentionality and devotion to your work, why growth hacking is really just a way to bypass your personal responsibility, the importance of integration, how many of us are simply living up to our illusions, and what needs to be done in order to break through those illusions. Anthony Dippolito is a modern day medicine man who uses the ancient art of language, deep listening, and the superpower of full presence to create a space of transformation for those with the knowing that the time is now to get in touch with their true self and unlock their highest potential. Anthony started his professional career as a Hollywood agent with the intention of creating opportunities for his clients to birth and share their highest forms of creativity with the masses. The successful 10-year journey of working with high-level creatives allowed him to step even more into alignment by transitioning to sharing his gifts with those outside of Hollywood, desiring to live a more holistically fulfilling life. Always a keen student of the belief systems and strategies behind those able to achieve personal and professional success, Anthony has taken his life experience and merged it with the art of transformational coaching after receiving a master's in the neuropsychology-based program at NLP Marin, led by PhD Carl Buchet. Anthony is a rare alchemy of wide-ranging esoteric spiritual practices, deep jungle shamanism, and world-class neuropsychology training. Now, it's a amazing episode, and I'm so excited to share this with you. We go super deep, and whether you're into plant medicine or not, this episode is definitely for you. As long as you are devoted to your growth, if you're someone who's in the personal development space or spiritual development space, if you're interested in your own growth, you will find so much knowledge from this episode. Now, if you are a conscious leader who is seeking a coach and mentor to support you in elevating your presence, mission, and movement in 2020, and you're ready to dive deeper into your inner work, let's talk. 10 months, you and me, let's work together to bring your message into the spotlight. Apply today at www.rubyfremon.com/let's talk. Now, if you dig this podcast, make sure you stay in the loop by signing up for my weekly emails. Sign up today at rubyfremon.com/subscribe. And finally, whether you're new to the podcast or you're a loyal thought leader, please make sure you take a moment to download a few episodes and drop a rating and review on iTunes. And for bonus points, please refer this podcast to a friend. Now it is time to dive deep with the one and only Anthony Dippolito. Hey, thought leaders, we are back, and I am very excited to dive deep into this conversation with my soul brother, shaman, and all around amazing soul, Anthony Dippolito. Anthony, welcome. Anthony, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Honored to be here.
So we recently just came back from the jungle, the Amazon jungle, to be exact.
The Peruvian Amazon jungle.
And that wasn't your first time there. However, it was my first time. If you could rate me on in this lifetime, if you could rate me on a scale of 1 to 10, how did I do for my first time?
What are the variables that we're looking at on the 1 to 10? Like breaking down, wanting to go home, freakouts.
Scared of spiders, all of those things.
I think it was a 10. I think you came and you brought all of yourself. You know, you brought all the good, you brought all the stuff you wanted to work on, you brought all the fears of the flying snakes and spiders and that's what it is, you know. And so you showed up, and it was really beautiful to see. And I knew that's what you were going to do, or else I would have not extended the invitation to you, but I knew you were ready. So
Oh,
yeah,
well,
good
thank
work.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Hmm.
I came, I saw, I conquered. Is what I'm choosing to
You
say.
got conquered and you conquered.
I definitely got conquered. And that's the crazy thing. So since I've been back, I've done a couple episodes on my experience, and I've been
Mhm.
hit up a lot in my DMs and on social media
Mm,
with people wanting experiences like this, but also me finding myself in that weird position of also kind of trying to educate people on what this truly is. And it's like, how do you
mm,
how do you even put into words what this journey is with plant medicine, and how to really answer the call and what this call truly is about? Because as we know, it's not a magic button.
mhm,
And so for you, like, how do you best describe this work?
mm. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there is just a silver bullet with any modality, right? I think that the juice is worth the squeeze with whatever you choose to do, but it's done with an intentionality and devotion,
Mm-hmm.
which is, some say, discipline. I
Mm-hmm.
say devotion because there's a element of humility in it, and when it comes to the plant medicines, we're also of the era right now, specifically in transformational work, where the hacking is such,
Mm-hmm.
the biohacking, the mind hacking is such a hot terms right now. And although we can get done in one ceremony what we can in 7 years of psychotherapy that I've
Mm-hmm.
found for myself and for others that I've witnessed, we don't go in with that intention.
Right.
What works, what I've noticed from my own experience, is what are we bringing to the medicine? How do we want to be of service? And what's holding us back from, like you said, like using our voice more, showing up more? And when I was reading your podcast introduction, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
you choose people to speak up.
Mm-hmm.
This is the people you choose to come on here. The time is now. It's required for all of us to share our story.
Yeah.
So, and to be of service, so for plant medicines, it works great if you come earnestly, if you come humbly, and if you come with a clear intention.
Mm. Yeah. Being humble. It's like one thing I discovered on my journey with plant medicine is you either come humble or you're going to be humbled. And
Hmm.
that's just the way it is. And that was my very first sit actually with you. You were present and I was humbled big time.
Hmm.
And that was when I really understood, oh, okay, this doesn't work like I thought it did. Like I thought you go in, you can have an intention, you can ask for what you want, and you can leave with a totally different experience too.
Hmm.
But no matter what, it's going to give you what you need, no matter what, even if you don't see it right away.
Exactly. Yeah. And when you go down to the jungle, it's funny because it might not be the first ceremony or the second. I mean, we were down there for 6 ceremonies, right?
Yeah.
And for some people, they were like, this isn't working. This another ceremony has gone by, and I'm still angry and I'm still pissed, and I still got this incessant thing that I'm like is still here.
Mm-hmm.
But by the end of the diet or in the integration period, which we just closed a couple days ago, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
um, the work completes itself,
Yeah.
and it's our responsibility to nurture that. It's
Mm-hmm.
our responsibility to put in the daily practice, to be doing your spiritual practice, to be doing your journaling and your meditation and your gratitude, whatever it is. These plants are neutral,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
When we were down in the jungle, that was one of the things that our brother who guided us down there said, right? In one of the integration sessions,
Yeah.
these plants are neutral, but they act as a quartz crystal, which amplifies everything that we have going.
Mm. Yeah. It's true. It's true. The plants are neutral and we can't expect to lean on them for them to hold us up.
Yeah.
Um, and the whole thing about responsibility, it's that idea of personal responsibility that never goes away. And yeah, we totally live in an era right now where hacking is a trend, and people are taking it way to the extremes, pushing their bodies to the absolute limits, with, nootropics and all sorts of other things. I don't even know half the shit that's out there now.
I mean, even microdosing, right? People
Right.
are thinking like, oh, should I get a coach or go to couples therapy? Or maybe like I'll just microdose and hope the neurons rewire
Right.
themselves. Like, it's like, yo, if you're an asshole before going into a diet, if you don't do the work, you'll still come out an asshole. Like, what is it that you are dedicated to doing the work on yourself?
Yeah.
For instance, we dieted Bobensana, right?
Mhm.
And um, that's a very heart opening plant,
Mhm.
right? But in order to open the heart, what do you have to go through? You have to go through the programs and the pathologies and the ways of have constructed your personality and behavior that has closed that off as a protection mechanism.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah,
It's not
let's
just going to
talk.
be like, okay, here it is, and my heart's open.
Right.
You and I
All
both,
of a sudden,
yeah,
everything is okay.
yeah.
Everything is perfect. Life is
No,
amazing. No,
no.
hell no.
Mm-mm.
And for me, the Bobensana was intense. Like,
It was
I
very intense
really
for me.
underestimated that pretty little red flower
Mm-hmm.
that I now have great reverence for and respect for. But
Mm-hmm.
man, did I underestimate her and her power. And um, when it comes to that transformation and the work that is involved, right? Because there is work, and it's almost like the way I look at it is, when you're on a journey with medicine, it feels very co-creative, while also feeling like there's lights being shed on things.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like it's like a lucid dream. You can consciously choose where you're going, you can direct where you're going, you can ask questions, you can uncover things, and that's where the questions come handy. And I learned that by asking the right questions, even something like, what am I not seeing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is it that I'm not, or what am I avoiding? What am I resisting?
Mm-hmm.
And that was when I started feeling the intense pain in ceremony. Instead of telling me, it was like, let me show you what you're
Mm-hmm.
resisting. And even so, the answer isn't clear. It's not like I was shown the answer. I just felt intense pain, and I was very confused. And it wasn't until I really integrated that I connected the dots. And so that again, like, coming back to personal responsibility, integration. Can we talk about integration? I think it's like the number one thing that's lacking from the personal development and spiritual development industries.
Yeah. So the intention that you had going in was to
Mm-hmm.
work on very specific things.
Yeah.
Now, of course, being the type A that you are, you had your
I'm
list
a
and your
type A. Wait a
pages,
second. Wait a second.
But ultimately, what did I ask you
Mm.
before going in there? I said, okay, great, Ruby. Like, if you could have all those things,
Mm-hmm.
what would having that do for you? Remember, we
Yeah.
stood on the bridge outside of the Maloka, which is where we hold ceremony. And then what did you say? You stood there and you're like, peace,
Mm-hmm.
harmony. When we get clear about what it is that we would like, no matter what the ceremony is, whether it's just the ceremony of life that we're in or going into a plant medicine ceremony, that's where we place our conscious awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Then coming out of it, we're only shown what our perceptual filters that we have set up to receive,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
You're able to receive the amount that you did because you cultivate that on a daily basis,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you
Yeah.
work at those filters. You look at being able to be like, okay, this is the perspective I have, but what about if I look at my shit from this angle?
Yeah.
What about if I look at it from that angle? What about if I step into my partner's shoes and look at me,
Mm-hmm.
right? So this medicine can act as a perspectivizer in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Then coming out of it, what are we letting go of? What are we taking with us?
Mm.
You got shown some stagnant somatic trauma in the body that you had to like really work on, but that was tied to specific imprints.
Mm-hmm.
So integration is okay, I'm going to call that person and I'm going to get clear with them around that. I'm going to let this go. I'm going to change my behavior and wake up early. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to stop eating this. That's integration. That's where the rubber really truly hits the road.
Mm-hmm.
What action are you going to take moving forward? Because some people come back to this. I mean, and you have this with your clients,
Mm-hmm.
like you give them the homework, the growth work,
Yep.
right? And they don't do it, and they come back and they're working with the same stuff. And so they want you putting out another fire.
Right. Yeah. And that's what we have. Most of humanity is just living their lives, putting out their own fires.
This is
They're
it.
living in fight or flight. They're living in a constant loop, allowing those old paradigms and those old belief systems to run their life without even thinking that they have the opportunity to change their thought process by being willing to look at things differently, by being willing to look at things, period,
Yeah.
or by being willing to be different, to act
Mhm.
different, to do different. And I'm not going to say that I was born this way. It's something that I've cultivated, right?
This
It's
is
a
it.
it's a habit that I've cultivated of challenging myself. I mean, the jungle itself, and I keep saying this to people, if I had just gone and it was just the jungle and no plant medicine, that was enough. Like,
For
that was
sure.
challenging as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Everything about it,
Mm-hmm.
from the spiders to the bats to the poisonous everything to the showers to the fear of having to use an outhouse in the middle of the night. I mean, all of that was super challenging. And it's through these, when we put ourselves in these challenging types of experiences, we also still have choices, right? It's not like the challenge is going to push you into growth. The challenge can push you into breakdown and you can stay there, or the challenge can push you into this space of challenging then yourself
Yeah.
in the way in which you're showing up. And I found that to be an incredible experience. That alone was uh, huge. It taught me what I'm capable of doing and who I'm capable of being. And it really reinforced just how brave and courageous I am. I think I forgot.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that you've now been to the jungle how many times? Several times.
Yeah. Several times this year alone.
Yeah, this year has been like you spent half the year in the jungle, it feels like.
Yeah. A third, but
A third.
yeah, that was more than I intended on doing. But
Yeah.
yeah.
And the
Mm.
first time when you entered that environment, what was it like for you?
The first time I went was 7 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and it was Costa Rica, which was a lot more manageable of a jungle. There was civilization nearby, and it was really
Right.
pretty, and I was near a waterfall, but I still sat by a river and did a vision quest, which was drinking medicine by myself every single day for 2 weeks, and that was
Wow.
a real deep initiation for me at 27 years old, and 28 years old. And that's where I received the vision that you're supposed to be doing this work. You're supposed to be doing transformational work with individuals, couples, groups, business groups. And it was huge. It was
Mm-hmm.
one of those things that it was so big, and I just was with my face down in the mud.
Yeah.
Like, oh God, is it really me? Of course, I was always, we'll talk about this later, but I was representing Hollywood talent. So
Mm-hmm.
the medicine was like, you are the talent now.
Mm.
You are the client you've been waiting for. It's time for you to use your voice. And I think that's been the biggest thing, is that this medicine has catalyzed that version of me that was trying to be the perennial agent for somebody else.
Mm.
Now it's time to develop agency for myself.
Yeah. From
And
advocating others to advocating for yourself and your voice.
absolutely. And, what does the jungle do? If we look at metaphorically,
Mm-hmm.
it is constantly decaying and being reborn.
Mm.
No matter where you look, it is eating itself, and there's vines wrapping trees that are dying, that are falling down, then moss grows on and it decomposes and a mushroom grows underneath it. And then it's constantly just eating itself, dying and rebirthing.
Yeah.
So like you said, when you go down there and you put yourself in that environment, that happens to you too, because that's what
Mm-hmm.
you're merging your consciousness with. This is why people go do forest baths. They just go
Right.
and they sit and they receive the consciousness and the energy from the plants and trees around them.
Mm-hmm.
That's the medicine, our natural world, which is always available to us.
Yeah. And that's I love that you went there, because I'd love to stay here for a second.
Mm-hmm.
With the natural world and us, being on this planet called Earth that we love, and we also torture and torment on a daily basis. And my one of my beliefs, and I shared this in part 2 of my lessons from the jungle, is that I believe that the
Mm-hmm.
plants are making their way all throughout the world. I mean, you can find ayahuasca on every continent now, because it is here to really support us and help us, um, and bring us back into our actual state. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
we've all, what's happening is we've just all shifted as a humanity into this different state of being, again, like the fight or flight response, the stress, the disease, coming from dis-ease, and really our disconnect with nature, our
Mm-hmm.
disconnect with our planet, our disconnect with trees and grass and water and clean air. And for anyone listening, I don't think you can argue that you feel better when you're near the beach, or when you're near fresh water, when you're in the forest, or when you're hiking in nature. Like, we all feel better, and
Mm-hmm.
there's a reason for it. And so with everything that's happening in our world, and the plant medicine coming to arise, and yes, it's being used in some questionable ways now, but it's also coming out. It's like
Mm-hmm.
ayahuasca's having a coming out party. She is coming to work with people. What are your views on that? I mean, especially the last 5 years, I think it's been a big surgence.
Well, like you said, I mean, if we look at what ayahuasca is, for anybody that doesn't know, it is a vine, it is a leaf and water. And what happens is that you pound the vine down and you put it in a big stainless steel pot with 16 gallons of water, and you throw a bunch of leaf in it, and you boil it down, and you add more water, and you boil it down, and the leaf grows in a disparate area of the jungle than the vine. And
Mm-hmm.
every lineage has a different story about how this vine of the soul, ayahuasca, that's what it means, came into being.
Mm-hmm.
One lineage says it was the grandfather's grandfather's grandfather who said the vision came from a jaguar, and who knows, the
Right.
mythology and the cosmology of this is very vast. um, but like a vine, she's growing and she's emerging from the jungle right now,
Mm-hmm.
and has been for quite some time. Like all things, it is neutral. It is neither good nor bad, but and humans are, some are taking it upon themselves preemptively to be serving it, that haven't really gone through a deep training,
Mm-hmm.
or an initiation or any lineage training at all.
Yeah.
And they drink it once and they say, I have received the vision that I am supposed to be holding this medicine. Again, they can only receive that which their perceptual filters have set up for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are people holding it in ways that could be a little more safer,
Mm-hmm.
a little more sacred. A little, I've heard of people that go and sit in ceremonies, and the person kind of DJs all night long and then gets up and walks out of the room,
Yeah.
and it's not safe. When we are opening our consciousness up and our vessels up to whatever energies are in the room, and if there isn't someone there that has had some deep training and initiation and received a blessing from their teachers and has been doing this for hundreds of times, then you have a bunch of people in a room with empty open vessels, and that's
Mm-hmm.
dangerous. And like you've seen, like when you are imprinted in that state, and if there's anything that traumatic happens, if you're not in a safe environment, that can cause some PTSD to work through.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't judge anyone for doing it how they're doing it. We've all got different ways, and I've let go of that this Indian tribe's way is the only way, or I think that's separation. And we've noticed how tribes throughout time have killed each other, and they've lived across the river from each other because they
Yeah.
thought their way is better. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we have people in the Middle East that are separated by a block who have different gods and murder each other.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, though, it's about setting a safe container. So
Mm.
what is this set and setting, and what is the medicine? Because now people are mixing this medicine with mushrooms, and then they're putting
Right.
sassafras in there, and then they're
Mm-hmm.
throwing some MDMA in there, and they're putting it in a chocolate bar and feeding people. And again, great, if that's how they're doing it, that's how they're doing it. uh, I say keep one teacher in the house.
Mm-hmm.
What are you? You're merging your consciousness with a sentient being, right?
Yeah.
So I don't. It's a lot harder if you're going to merge it with many different spiritual teachers coming in all at once with different messages. I mean, I
Right.
can't. I can't wade through all that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it, again, like I feel like it just comes down to having the reverence for the plant and really having that deep respect for what that plant is capable of doing once merged with your consciousness. Um, if anything, my this past year, it's really been almost a full year of me being with plant medicine. I think I'm like 14 ceremonies deep in 1 year. And what continues to grow within me is the love and the respect for plants.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I noticed that with that also comes the love and respect for myself for
Mm-hmm.
doing this work. Um, Now, with humanity and where we're at today, people are definitely more open today than now than more than ever. Consciousness is opening. There's a ripple effect that's happening. People are more aware. People are more in touch. People are more attuned. People are craving more alignment, more freedom, more of these things. And really, ultimately, with this rise of consciousness, we're also feeling more into the shadow of our planet and our people and what's happening. And so sometimes it feels like we're living in this constant duality, and like you said, like the division that we've created that, like we've
Mm-hmm.
created that division, we've created this hatred, we've created this war, we've created all this shit that's happening, the turmoil that's now coming to the surface through movements, like Me Too and Black Lives Matter and everything that's just rising and rising and rising. Do you see, in just your personal opinion, your personal views, do you see plant medicine playing a role in helping us heal that?
Hmm. For me personally, it has totally pulled down the barrier of duality in my own being.
Mm-hmm.
you know when we sit in a ceremony, we notice that all of a sudden I'm feeling this energy coming up in me, and then I'm letting it go, and that was not part of my intention. And how the heck did I start having visions of a grandpa that lost his leg, and
Yeah.
like, what is that about? To find the next day in integration that the woman sitting across the circle's grandfather had that happened to him.
Mm-hmm.
And so it from the very first ceremony, I started feeling everybody's experiences, and my teacher was like, that's what it is supposed to be all the time. We get
Mm-hmm.
so narcissistic in our small little bubbles that we don't think I'm feeling your pain. I
Mm-hmm.
am all the time, but we've closed ourselves off to fully feeling because it can be so sensationally overwhelming,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And so the plant medicine can, if we do the work to open
Yes.
ourselves up to those transmissions and teachings,
Mm-hmm.
and if we have community set up to help each other integrate, then to take action to do something different.
Right.
In and of itself, it's not going to do anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What is the work that we do on ourselves going into it? What community setups do we have to support each other in seeing it through, in taking action, and in building sustainable methods?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
we're on a text chain right now of all of us that were down in the jungle together, and we're all like, damn, I'm still in it. Like, I got
Yeah.
real, I got super sick, and I'm like, I can't breathe. And I saw your share this morning,
Yeah.
very vulnerable share of what you're working on, and something that
Mm-hmm.
you shared with all of us down there,
Yeah.
and that's community, that's integration. We don't do this alone. The illusion is that we can do this alone,
Mm-hmm.
or that we ever did do it alone and found it to be working.
Right. The illusion is that we can do it alone, that we are alone, and or that, this certain thing is going to fix us. This
Yeah.
certain, whether it's plant medicine, and people always lean onto things to fix them. And what I've discovered just through my own journey is, we're never broken.
Mm.
Like, this is really just our evolution. And I specifically asked that question because I really wanted our listeners to hear, because I think that everyone is on a search for an answer, and there are really no answers.
Yeah.
Like, I hate to tell you,
Surprise.
surprise, there's no
Yeah.
answers.
Mm-hmm.
There are no answers. It's just us and who we be. That's really it. Ultimately, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And so whatever it is that we are experiencing or going through or navigating through, the trauma, the wounds, the pain, all of that, that is for us to do the work, and to really intentionally surround ourselves with community and people who can hold space for that and be
Mm-hmm.
there and encourage us to open up. Because, like you said, like, as we as humanity, we've closed off. We're all kind of in it for ourselves. It's this like selfish, really weird, selfish, ego driven way of living life, of we're just in it for ourselves, when really we're all living on this planet together. We're all in it together. So why the division?
The matrix has been set up like that because we're a lot easier to control if we aren't in our tribe.
Mm,
When we're isolated by ourselves in our cubicle, in our car, in traffic, in lines, we're very easy to control. And then you apply that financial pressure, and then you apply genetically modified foods, and then you apply all these pathogens in the air,
mm-hmm.
and then you suppress our life force with illness and sickness, then we're really easy to control.
Yeah.
But when we're in nature and we're feeling so much vitality and strength, and we're praying together and we're playing together and we're
Mm-hmm.
building something together, we're a lot harder to control, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely. It's like it allows you to decompress from all the external noise, and
Mm-hmm.
reconnect to what's within you.
Mm-hmm.
And what's within us is what's within me is what's within you. It's all the same energetic vibration. We're all connected in that sense. And that's why when we are connected to the external sources, to the external input, that's when we lose connection with each other, because we lose connection with ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
um, so with that, you have had a really interesting uh, what do you call it, maybe like a journey detour that brought you here, what you were doing before. I mean, you used to work in Hollywood,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
now you're in the jungles doing deep work.
Mm-hmm.
Chanting, doing medicine. Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
wow.
Yeah, it was if you would have showed me a version of myself, if you would have taken a snapshot or a video of this one and you would have showed it to me of 7 years ago, I would have lost my lid, because that one that sat in that corner office with the suit and the shoes and had the assistant and, lived in Brentwood and had all the things, I would have been terrified because I had constructed my reality based off of fear, truly,
Mm.
truly raised
Mm-hmm.
by, single mom, very lower income class. And so I thought, like, okay, well, as soon as I have XYZ or can provide XYZ,
Mm-hmm.
then this like empty pit in my gut, it will feel better.
Yeah.
When I can make X amount of money, then I'll feel better. When I look in the mirror and I look all, with my watch and my suit and my coiffed hair, and I'm in my nice house, okay, then I'll feel better.
Mm.
This is the illusion that I was living. And I loved what I was doing. I was working with high level actors, directors, writers, producers, and an amazing agency with great people.
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, though, this is my calling, to be working with people on an individual basis and fulfilling their soul and
Mm.
fulfilling their spirit and how
Mm-hmm.
they deliver that to the world. When you think about it, it's not that different. That's still kind of what I was doing as an agent, helping people like fulfill their art and their passion and find
Mm-hmm.
ways to share it with people.
Right.
I'm still doing that. How I do that is vastly different.
Yeah.
And I want to share that with people, because a lot of people now that I'm, go back in the Hollywood game and talk to, we'll have dinner, and they're like, man, I would love to do that, but I'm scared shitless that if I sit in ceremony or if I do NLP work with you or hypnotherapy work with
Mm-hmm.
you, I'm going to see that the scaffolding to my whole reality needs to come tumbling down.
Right.
That's not necessarily true, but how we're doing these things could use a revision.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is like, I want to do that, but I'm not willing to let go of all of this.
Right.
And so they're afraid of what's going to be shown to them. It just so happens for me personally, the first time I sat with the medicine, I was told by spirit, by myself, by my subconscious, whatever you want to say, to go down to the jungle and sit down there for 2 weeks with a teacher and be by myself and receive the transmissions that I needed to receive. And then I was shown that I was supposed to be helping people heal.
Yeah.
That's not everyone's journey. Not
Mm-hmm.
everyone has to leave their 9 to 5, but when they really tune into themselves, how fulfilled and happy are they? Do they feel energetic? Do they feel fulfilled? Are they truly living? And the
Yeah.
answer to some of those things is I had to really look at myself in the mirror. And, you know, I was shown that I had to, it wasn't a choice, that I'm a healer and I had to embrace that.
Mm.
And when I sent my going away email, people lost it. They're like, what? You just made it to this next level and you're representing these people and now you're leaving? What the heck? And, this is bigger than me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so when we receive something that is like so crystal clear, we have to honor it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we do this work.
Yeah.
And so when we get it, we got to let go of our pride.
Yeah.
I had to let go of making that money. I had to let go of all these things. I gave away all my shoes and watches and suits. I said, here, you take it, you take it. I'm going to go out in the jungle now for the next couple of years.
Yeah.
Got my master's in neurolinguistic programming to understand how the mind creates its reality.
Mm-hmm.
you know
Yeah. It's like being willing to let go of that illusion in order to really be with what truly is. Our society is built on illusions and on it encourages us to create illusions on top of illusions on top of illusions. Everything is very aesthetic and image based, and it's all about how you're perceived. And then when we get caught up in how we're perceived, we get caught up in manipulating how we're being perceived and trying to take
hmm.
control. And then it always comes down to control, right? I want to control how I'm being perceived, and so I'm going to fabricate this life and assume that this is what I need to feel happy and fulfilled. But really, everything that we're seeking comes down to us deep within ourselves and how we're feeling at the core of our being. And nothing that we can accumulate external of us will give us that.
But
Nothing.
we're being programmed from a very, very early age that everything you just said isn't true.
Right, exactly. The
So,
exact
like,
opposite is
the
true.
exact opposite.
We've
So,
been fucked
yeah,
our entire life.
totally.
We've been set up to fail.
And so that's why I want to honor you and your podcast and your mission of thought leaders that have had to go through and jump through the hurdles to find their voice
Yeah,
and
thank
then
you.
found ways to share it,
Yeah,
because so many people are scared of that,
thank you. That was like a vision I received in a very early on ceremony or not even ceremony. This is pre-plants. It was a dream, a reoccurring dream that I kept having, and it was me. It's really dark, and it's like a jungle,
Mhm.
um, but it's kind of barren. Like the trees are bare, and the ground is mud. Um, Kind of apocalyptic style, but also not apocalyptic feeling. Like it's feeling like a fresh beginning. And I'm standing there, and right in front of me, coming from the earth, are people they're rising from the dirt, and they're rising to the surface, and their arms are part branch, part human. And then we all start to march together as one collective. And that's the vision that I've had for so long. And the vision manifested now is Thought Leader Collective, and it's putting all those values of what I see leadership as being today. And our voice is so important. It's an important component of that, because that again is part of that program that we've been taught from the very beginning. It's not safe to use your voice. It's not safe to speak your mind. You won't be accepted if you speak your truth. You won't be loved and belonged. Like, let's challenge one of the deepest human needs that we all share. Let's challenge that. And now more than ever, our voices are needed. Now more than ever, our voices are needed, not just for the human collective, but for ourselves to tap into the energy of the collective. And so thank you for that reflection. And I love what I do, and I love what you do, because you're supporting those on the inner work as well. And in a very, very, with great respect to the plants and to the work. You know, I think that there's a lot of bypassing going on nowadays, and quick fixes and quick remedies. But as we know, this is a lifelong devotion, a lifelong commitment. And there is no end and there is no beginning. It just is.
Yeah.
And we're constantly evolving. And so now that we're post jungle, I've washed all the jungle out of me. I think we're good.
Okay.
I did. The only jungle that remains is in my heart, because I actually do get homesick for the jungle. But one of the greatest gifts that the jungle taught me was, well, first of all, I didn't have a watch. I didn't have my phone. My phone was off, so I didn't know what time it was at any given time. So all of a sudden I have no time, no concept of where, when, how. But it taught me to slow down, and taught me to just be, and that it is possible to just be without any sort of distractions, without ever having to do things. And it taught me really just the amount of resilience that we're all born with. And the ability that we have to reprogram anything that we want, any thought that we have, any belief that we have the power to reprogram that. And that's available to us. I mean, I get like chills when I say that, because it's so exciting. What have been, like, for this specific trip that we just came out of, what was your biggest insight for yourself?
So you and I dieted the same plant. And just real quick, a diet is a dieta in the lineage that we went down there and participated in is called Shipibo. It's an old lineage in the Peruvian Amazon. They've been down there for thousands of years, dieting plants, which basically means for a determined amount of time, you drink a plant remedy, and then you have ceremony every other day. And on your off days, you drink your plant remedy. And so just that's some context, right? It's just so the listener understands what the heck we're talking about.
Yeah. And you can also, they can also go back and listen to episode 155 and 157 for a little more context.
Good. Okay. So you and I got prescribed and now back in the day when dieteros would go down, they actually wouldn't drink ayahuasca. They would just be given the plant remedy, and the medicine of the plant remedy would be activated by the maestro, aka shaman, facilitator, or maestra, woman, by the icaros, which are somatic chants that can go into the body and unlock denser energies for the plant remedy to go in with its consciousness to heal and to open up. So that's that. You and I were given a plant remedy called Bobinsana, which is a very beautiful plant that has these really pretty red flowers. And it is said that she is has the energy of a siren near the river, and she dances when the river moves her, and she opens the heart and she heals the body.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I went down there with some pretty rough curriculum of the body of some things we've been through in our life,
Yeah.
which correlated to us kind of armoring our heart off a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
We've been through some stuff, and yeah, we still have our significant others and we love people so deeply. And yet, how much of that do we allow ourselves to receive of ourselves?
Mm.
That
Yeah.
was the work. And my insight in that is, for me is the greatest form of love that I can extend to myself is self-compassion.
Mm-hmm.
Totally accepting all these idiosyncratic ways that I am and learning to appreciate those before I try to reprogram them.
Mm.
I think we
Yeah.
arrive at these things so quickly of like, oh shit, that's slowing me down. I gotta
Fix it.
re-imprint that,
Yeah.
reprogram. But like, can we appreciate how that little one far ago and long away developed a program to keep him or her safe?
Yeah.
To keep him or her feeling belonging to the family unit that had that dysfunction too?
Mm-hmm.
I think I've been running after self-help and transformation without actually looking at these various aspects of myself and truly, truly welcoming those versions of myself home.
Mm. Mm.
And
Yeah.
so this diet was a real opportunity for me just to look at these ways in which that I use judgment and cynicism as self-protection mechanisms to keep myself distanced from myself and others, to keep this illusion of control going.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately I just had to take my hands like a roller coaster and throw it up and be like, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
That which I tried to control controls me even more.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done. Okay, my partner wants to do this, do that. Okay, you over there that's making all that noise in ceremony, that's irritating the shit. I mean, go ahead, do more of that. Because what the diet kept delivering me was more things that I was like trying to fix.
Yeah.
And it just compiled all on itself, and then they started building a hut next to me, and they were walking all over my shack that I was in. They were throwing their tools everywhere onto my shack, and I was like, you know what, I so surrender.
Mm-hmm.
I can't control anything.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm in the integration of right now. It doesn't mean that I don't try or that I don't have an intention. It just means that all the variables that aren't meant to be controlled, I stop placing conscious awareness on those things, because
Mm-hmm.
that is a waste of my superpower.
Yeah. It's true. Yeah. We don't realize how much we do that.
Oh my God, I do it so much. So
It's
like
kind of
like 80% of my bandwidth I was shown down there is going to things that aren't meant to be controlled or is not mine to control. And
yeah.
that when I take that energy back, I can apply that to the sacred dream that which I'm holding for myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I was robbing myself of the potency of the dream that I was weaving for myself out of the mechanism of fear to try to control things.
Yep.
I was the one losing, even though I thought I had all the variables in my life controlled.
Mm-hmm.
The joke was on me.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I was the one that was hurting because of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that
Mm-hmm.
so openly and honestly and transparently.
Well,
Yeah.
it's a thing that I noticed, and I came back and I was in ceremony with someone, and it was a dear brother, and he was just like, I got to work on this control thing. And then he like channeled the ways in which he was controlling in his life,
Yeah.
his partner, his business, his kids, everything in his life. And I was just sitting there looking at myself.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, damn straight, brother. Like, I feel you on that on so many levels.
Yeah.
And it's a thing that we do because long ago and far away, it was not safe as a little kid,
Mm-hmm.
in that home that I grew up in. So I tried to try to fix everything up. But what 4-year-old can do that appropriately?
Right.
Well, now I'm 36, so I need to welcome that 4-year-old home and be like, it's cool. We're here now. I got you,
Yeah.
you know? And so now I got my hands up and I say, Spirit, take the wheel. God, how much do you trust your faith?
Mm-hmm.
faith in
Yeah.
yourself and faith in something bigger than you. How much do you trust that?
Yeah. Yeah. And
That's the
that's been
real
coming
question.
up a lot is just in my sphere, both in myself, but also in all my clients, like coming back to self-trust. How much do you trust yourself? You know, the reason why we grip so tightly, the reason why we feel like we need to control everything. I'm speaking for myself here too, type A. We feel like we need to control everything is because we actually just don't trust ourselves. And so the opposite of control isn't surrender. The opposite of control is trust. And so for me, it's been diving into a deeper state of trust since I've been back, trusting myself, having more compassion with myself, really seeing my patterns as they are emerging. Sometimes it's through words coming out of my mouth, and I'm witnessing the words coming out of my mouth, and I'm like, oh, look at what I'm doing right now. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
And then being able to shift the pattern from there. But it's just this heightened awareness of the way in which I'm showing up. And yeah, this is the work. And even if it's not plant medicine for our listeners, even if it's not plant medicine, but you're just doing this work, you're in this work through spiritual personal development, it's the integration that matters, because you're not here to just input. You need to do something with that input. You need to apply it. You need to integrate it. You need to utilize it and take action on it for it to actually reprogram your synapses and completely shift your nervous system. You know, like we need to shift that actively through action. And so I think that if anything, that's like what I really want to drive home is that the importance of that integration. And it doesn't matter what avenue you take, what, again, like plant medicine, therapy, coaching, counseling,
Breath work, yoga.
breath work, yoga, yeah, any reading books, listening to podcasts, whatever it is. But what matters is what you do with it, how you take action on it. So Anthony, I am going back to the jungle next November.
Are you?
And I'm hearing 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's go.
And 2 of those weeks are meant to be with Maestra. So, and I think that's going to be in Pucallpa.
I got you covered with that.
Yeah. Yeah. This is going to be, it feels like it's going to be an annual thing.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go get your annual scrub down.
Yeah, get my annual scrub down, get my annual fear factor on, get my annual, I don't even know, like jungle facial
reset.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it, right? Like when you go to the jungle, like you are able to you said that you didn't know what time it was ever, and you synced up with the circadian rhythm of the earth. So we were going to sleep when the sun went down. We were coming up when the sun came up. We tuned our own vibration to the resonant frequency, the Schumann resonance of Gaia.
Yeah. And let me tell you, so I've been taking what I call sleepy pills for probably 6 years. And my sleepy pills consist of melatonin, 5-HTP, magnesium, and some Chinese herb. I have not had to take anything.
Beautiful.
In 6 years, this has never happened. I've never been able to fall asleep, ever. I have had chronic insomnia for as long as I can remember. And now I'm just on this normal, like, hey, I feel tired. I want to go to bed. I don't give a shit if it's 8 p.m. Like, I'm just going to go to bed. And when I wake up, even if it's 4 a.m., I'm like, oh, it's 4 a.m. But my body says, let's get up. Okay, cool. I'm just like listening. And it feels so good to not have to take a bunch of pills at night to get to sleep.
Good work.
Right?
Yeah, that's amazing.
I'm super impressed.
Yeah.
So, Anthony, thank you so much for just sharing your presence with all of us today.
Thank you.
I know you're not one to be online much, but I also hear that you'll be shifting that because media is medicine. So why don't you tell our listeners how they can get more of you online?
Yeah, go to Instagram and go to soul.agent, and I'm on there. I share a little something every now and again, and I shared something on my birthday. Maybe I'll share something on my next birthday.
Maybe he'll share something on yours. We don't know. We don't know when Anthony's going to pick up his phone and use it. Have no idea.
No, but I think you're right. It'll be something I do more frequently, because what I was shown is that we got to all share our individual stories more, because there's certain things I've gone through in my life that like one person is waiting to hear that it can shift so many things in their life. And I know for myself, that's how I'm here. It's just listening to one person share one thing, and I was like, that resonates. I need that.
Yes.
So if there's anyone out there listening to us right now that thinks nobody wants to hear their story or their voice, it doesn't matter, that's false. If it was only one person that it shifts, if we're all doing it, then we all shift and rise together.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. It's time to remove the judgment and stigmas around social media. You know, you can't be too spiritual to use social.
Yeah.
You can't. It's a divine responsibility to get our message out, and we have this gift at our fingertips, literally. So we get to use that. So I look forward to seeing more of you online.
Thank you,
Anthony, and I will be calling you out if I don't.
All right, okay.
And to our listeners, thank you so much for joining me and Anthony on today's Thought Leader, where we are challenging you to rise up, speak up, and create a movement. If you enjoyed this episode with me and Anthony, please drop a rating and review on iTunes and share it with a friend who will be deeply impacted by this message. If you have any questions for either of us, reach out to us on social media. On Instagram, my handle is @IamRuby, and I'll put both of our handles in the show notes. And I will see you back here on Monday for a brand new episode of today's Thought Leader.